Catholicism is the world's oldest church, with more than 1.3 billion members worldwide. Many of the religion's modern-day followers scoff at the supernatural. Yet it is undeniable that mysterious occurrences connected to Catholicism happen all over the world. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 religious happenings. Sister Maria's letter to the devil. The year was 1676. Sister Maria Crocefissa della Concezione was living in a convent in southern Italy, in modern-day Parma di Montechiaro. A New Zealand author visiting Parma di Montechiaro in the 1960s described it as a place of spectacular poverty. He wrote, "The cavernous streets are scored by serpentines of black feces and other matter, and a veil of chalky dust pollutes the air. From the main road the whole plaster town tilts downwards, as though arrested in a macabre lunge towards the sea. Once I drove through with a woman companion. She looked once and screamed. She did not speak again until we were some distance outside the township." One can imagine that Sister Maria's austere life in the convent was not much more joyous than the author's description. Nuns in the 1600s took a vow to live simply in poverty as a way of serving God. They arose early and spent much of their day in silence, praying or participating in manual labour. With the classic long tunic and veil, convents seemed to be full of silent brides of Christ, conducting the work of prayer and protecting the souls of their fellow Catholics. On a quiet, warm morning like any other, Sister Maria's fellow nuns rose early to begin cleaning and cooking for the day. Maria, however, did not get up on time. She had spent the last night screaming and muttering to herself, in the throes of something the likes of which she had never experienced. Travelling to her room, her sisters were shocked to find her on the floor, her face completely covered in ink. She was holding a mysterious, indecipherable note. The symbols were nothing like anyone had seen before. All she would say was that the letter was written by the devil himself. The writing was a mixture of strange symbols and arcane icons, and no one could decipher it. It is not known what happened to Sister Maria, but the message she recorded has survived the ages. For the past 300 years, Lucifer's message to Christians has remained untranslated. In 2018, thanks to Italian researchers who utilized a new piece of software discovered on the dark web, part of Sister Maria's message has been decoded. By inputting a wide range of languages into the software, researchers were able to unscramble the ancient code. The letter is said to describe God and Jesus as dead weights invented by man. It claims that religion benefits no one, and that God cannot free mortals. It even references the river Styx, which in Greek mythology is a river that separates the realm of the living from the underworld. The team of scientists suggested that Sister Maria suffered from a mental illness such as schizophrenia, which often presents with religious insanity and images of the devil. However, this is only an educated guess. We can never truly understand what drove Sister Maria insane. The Weeping Statues. Hobbs is a small town in New Mexico on the edge of the vast Chihuahuan Desert. The sweeping vistas make a gorgeous backdrop for the many churches, including Our Lady of Guadalupe. The church itself has a modest interior with a classic aisle and altar, which provides services in English and Spanish. Its highlight is undoubtedly the brass statue of Our Lady herself, from which the church takes its name. She is rendered in gold with a green shawl and a wreath of rays behind her. But the decoration is not what makes her unique. In May 2018, the statue of Our Lady began to weep. Since at least the 1600s, Catholics have reported statues of Virgin Mary that appear to spontaneously weep. These crying statues have been reported all over the world, in France, Italy, the US, and more. One of the earliest recorded instances of Mary's statue weeping was in 1643. The population of Rottweiler, Germany, was under siege from the French. 42 men and women crowded into the church, begging God for salvation. As they spoke to Mary, they saw a miracle. Her eyes appeared to move back and forth, and she wept. Catholics and non-Catholics alike witnessed the spectacle. Nearly 400 years later, Mary continues to weep. In 2003, a Bangladeshi statue in a glass case began to weep, drawing thousands of onlookers. In 2017, a statue in Telangana, India, dripped red liquid from the eyes. Back in Hobbs, New Mexico, the Our Lady statue cried for over a month. Onlookers gathered to pay respects, and as they did, they noticed a strong smell. Upon examination, the liquid turned out to be a mixture of oil and balsam called the sacred chrism, the fragrant mixture which is used for anointment and ceremonial purposes within the church. The statue was closely examined, including the hollow interior, but no source of the liquid was found. As quickly as Mary's tears appeared, they dried up. By the end of July 2018, she was no longer weeping, yet the oil mixture returned months later in September. Despite a lack of formal acknowledgement from church authorities, Our Lady of Guadalupe continues to draw crowds today, desperate to see her cry. The Girls of La Salette. La Salette, France, is a small town at the foothills of the Alps. Today it is small, but in 1846 it was a bustling hamlet with nearly 800 residents, mostly farmers and their families. Farmers were enjoying an economic boom, due in no small part to the French Revolution of 1789. Napoleon's regime stabilized economic tensions, and the introduction of new crops such as the potato and the beetroot helped improve food security and prices. In addition to these new crops, many of the families in La Salette tended to livestock such as sheep and cows. The livestock would be released into the beautiful lush pastures on the slopes of the Alps, and local children were dispatched to complete the fairly easy task of minding the herd. On September 19th, Melanie Calvat, 15, and Maximin Giroux, 11, were enjoying the sunlight of a warm fall day. The weather had not yet turned cool, and the herd of cows they were minding was grazing on the slopes about 3 miles from the nearby village. Suddenly, they noticed a woman clad in strange, vibrant clothing. She was sitting on the mountainside, weeping. The woman wore a headdress topped by a crown and a band of roses, a dress that shone with beams of light, and slippers with roses on them. She appeared bathed in a pool of light so bright it seemed to be fiery. Around her neck, she wore a golden crucifix, with a hammer and nails on one end and a pincher on the other. She continues to weep, but she called the children closer to her. Neither of them were pious, but they somehow knew this was the Virgin Mary herself. They approached as in a trance. Mary told the children that today's Catholics had strayed too far from the faith. She instructed them to respect the seventh day, which was to be set aside to rest, and to respect the name of God. If her words were not obeyed, she said, the town of La Salette would be punished by famine, in particular a scarcity of potatoes. Of course, a French countryside gripped by the potato famine in 1845 could not handle more loss. Mary's message was timely. Melanie and Maximin dutifully took the message they received back to the townspeople, where they were quizzed individually. The stories matched, and the town's most prominent religious figures brought the apparition to the attention of the local priest. Despite threats of imprisonment from the French government, the children maintained their story. The site of the apparition was carefully investigated, and several miracles were documented. Someone broke off a rock in the place where Mary had been seated, and water flowed out. The water was used to cure a local woman's illness. Attendance at Mass skyrocketed, and by 1851, a new religious order and church was founded in the little town at the base of the mountain, the Missionaries of La Salette. Today, pilgrims travel from all over the world to visit the site of the La Salette apparition. The members of the order strive to spread Mary's message across the globe. Interestingly, all throughout history, there appears to be a number of strange and unexplainable phenomena centered around religious gatherings and events that many find impossible to explain in the modern day. Additionally, many of these strange and mysterious religious events seem to point to the idea that perhaps our world is far stranger than we ever realized before. We may never truly understand what brings believers to such unbelievable sights. As of today, there's still whispers of these apparitions appearing to people. Whether they are genuine is up for debate, but eyewitnesses have said that they know what they saw, and that whatever it was didn't come from this earth. But what do you make of these unexplained religious happenings? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to